Yeah, righto, mate. Yeah. You can wash my windows, mate, but I ain't got no loose change, mate. We're in Green Lane. My loose change goes to the window washers out in South Auckland, mate. If you're in Green Lane washing windows, you're a phony. You're a phony. You're a phony, homie. But you can phone me, and we can dissect it. But I got no loose change for you. When Green Lane window washers you. Harry Hardcore's gone hard and fast, Wildcard, because the All Whites, they are heading to the Confederations Cup at some stage, I guess.
Yeah, sometime next year.
Sometime next year. There was a draw. There was some other stuff. I've got no idea. You've got the idea. So tell me, is it a good draw? What's going on? Why is Australia there? What's doing?
Yeah, no, it's a good draw. It's a good draw considering what we could have had. New Zealand have drawn Russia, Mexico, and Portugal.
Ooh.
So solid. Confederations Cup is like the winners of each of the different confederations, hence the name, go into a little pot, play this little tournament. Russia are there because they're hosting the next World Cup, so they're hosting the Confederations Cup. We got Mexico because they won the North and Central American thing. Portugal, of course, won the Euros. And so we get to play those three, which is handy. I mean, we've played Mexico a few times recently. We saw we're not that far off them, although let it be known that the Mexico team we played in America, not the strongest. Russia were crap at the Euros, so they're a team that we might even be able to get a point, maybe stick a win there. Portugal are really good, but they're not a team that goes out and wins 5-6-0 against weak teams necessarily. So, whereas Australia, on their side of the draw, Australia is Asian champions. I really wanted to play Aussie, I was a bit disappointed we didn't get them, but I'm also glad we didn't get the best team in Africa, who is yet to be decided, and Chile and Germany. So they're getting smacked.
They're getting smacked. The old Trans-Tasman footy clash would be a bit of a juicy encounter, wouldn't it?
Yeah, maybe they can sort something out as a pre-tournament friendly or something. I don't know. We'll see how that one goes.
Should we be excited about the Confederations Cup?
I mean, there's nothing. No one really gets excited about it. It's effectively a friendly tournament. It's only really there so that the team who's hosting, or the country who's hosting the World Cup, gets some practice a year earlier, and Russia probably need that practice, to be honest. Sure, they do a sweet-ass job. What's interesting about this is, supposing Ronaldo cares enough to go and play in this tournament, we could play, Cristiano Ronaldo for Portugal. A few months later, if you look at the standings in the World Cup qualifying, we could be playing Lionel Messi a couple months later, so maybe Winston Reid will get to decide that old Ronaldo versus Messi thing once and for all, once he's played both of them.
Maybe, Wildcard, maybe. We'll maybe Bill Tuoloma, a little shirt swap.
Yeah, well, there'll be a bit of a scrap because no one really wants Nani's shirt or Jose Font or whoever. Everyone's going after, well, he plays for Southampton. He's a good player. Shall we swing into some Plunket Shield now, though? So we, get that front foot forward. What are we going to do here? We've hit that break, haven't we? We've hit the break in the Plunket Shield. No more games till February. We're going to start doing some few more hit and giggles. Good fun stuff. We've got to keep the TV ratings up. So we've looked at what are we going to do? Pick a few batters, a few bowlers who've been doing well?
I'm solely focusing on the bowlers, Wildcard.
You want to focus on the Well, I can focus on the batsmen if you want.
You can focus on whoever you like, because the bowlers, we've got two spinners leading the wickets in Aotearoa before Christmas, usually when it's nipping around, bit of moisture in the deck. However, Taran Nathula, 28 wickets at an average of 26.92. Then you got Ajaz Patel, Nishkesh Homi, 25 wickets at 27.08. And big Kyle Jamieson from Canterbury, he took 8 wickets against Auckland, which took him up to 24 wickets at an average of just 18. And Kyle Jamieson is arguably, undisputedly, definitely, maybe the tallest bowler in Aotearoa.
I was going to say 8 wickets, that's one for every foot of height he is, isn't it?
Indeed.
Well, if you swing it over to the batsman side of things, Luke Woodcock is dominating that with his 446 runs, top scorer 203 not out. Brad Wilson, 433 for Otago. And also Hamish Rutherford for Otago with 390 runs. Not too shabby there. A couple of Otago guys, I noticed they're down the bottom of the table though, so maybe they're getting a few too many draws.
And both their centuries of Brad Wilson and Hamish Rutherford and their half century came in the first few rounds.
It did too.
Haven't done a whole lot since.
That is true. I did notice someone who has done a lot since though. Got dropped from the Black Hats, Marty Guptill, batted 3 times, 200s and a 50.
What more do you want? You get dropped from the Black Caps test team 3 innings in Plunket Shield cricket and you just score runs. Like, he's doing what the doctor asked from.
Pillaging. Northern Districts sitting on top of the table, I notice. Doing all right. I guess we always expect ND to be pretty good at the Plunket stuff. Probably didn't expect Wellington to be up there, but, they're showing a bit of that old veteran grit.
Yeah, you got Hamish Marshall, you got Luke Woodcock, you got Michael Paps, Chetan Patel doing his thing. I think Brent Arnell's still running around. Mm-hmm. Tom Blundell was picked as the wicketkeeper for the New Zealand A team. Stephen Murdoch, Michael Pollard. Guys have just been on the scene for a while. There's a guy called Matt McEwen taking wickets, scoring runs as well for Wellington, so keep an eye on him.
Shall do. Would you like to then fill me in on this Bobby Whittaker?
Oh, Bobby Whittaker, wildcard. Now, everyone's got their knickers in a twist about Joseph Parker, understandably so. He's got some sort of heavyweight title fight coming up.
Some sort of.
Some sort, and you got to pay a lot of money. Robert Whittaker, instead, jump on his wagon because he's kind of Kiwi. Sign of the times, a lot of people are a bit Kiwi, they are a bit Australian, so we can share. As long as they're taking over the sport.
We can each have a slice of pavlova.
Oh, we can indeed. Robert Whittaker, he beat up Derek Brunson. First round, absorbed some heavy blows from Derek Brunson, withstood the opening barrage, and then just unleashed on Derek Brunson. Left hand, big kick to the dome as well, bit of ground and pound victory in Melbourne in front of his home crowd. But Robert Whittaker, he's moving up 6 straight wins in the middleweight division for the UFC. And if you're a Kiwi combat sports fan, just jump on the wagon. I'm driving the wagon. Wildcard, you're welcome to come along. Jerry Dactyls are welcome to come along as well. Anyone else is welcome. We got free pavlova for everyone.
Hey.
Oh, Robert Whittaker, he's got the Māori shoulder tattoo, and then he's got the Australian starry stuff over on his above his heart. So very romantic.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful stuff. And there's also a hockey tournament going on.
Both were in Melbourne. So on Sunday night, we had UFC Fight Night with Robert Whittaker main event status against Derek Brunson in Melbourne. And then the Black Sticks men were playing the final of the International Festival of Hockey in Melbourne. So
Wellington Phoenix were in Melbourne?
Oh, mate.
Although they didn't win, so...
Yeah, I had to stop watching that because I went to watch the hockey. But, Black Sticks men went down 3-1 to Australia. Been a very interesting 2 weeks for the Black Sticks men. They had the Trans-Tasman Trophy against Australia in Aotearoa. Then they went across to Melbourne.
Right.
Drew with Malaysia, lost to Australia, beat India, lost to Australia in the final. Lots of young players rebuilding after the Olympics. Very exciting. Kiwi hockey is just in a fantastic position at the moment, wildcard.
Lovely to hear that. Love to hear that. Aussie didn't do that well at the Olympics, though, did they? So
no, they struggled, but they also are in a similar position where they're rebuilding.
Right.
But the difference in the final was probably that the gap between their best players in that team and their next tier was a lot smaller than the Black Sticks gap. So key players for the Black Sticks: Nick Hayes, Shea McAleese, Aaron Puncher, Hugo Inglis, Stephen Jeunesse up front, world class.
Count them all.
And then you got youngsters: Kim Kingston, Rob Creffier, Matt Reese-Gibbs. Plenty of exciting young talent just coming through the grades.
Well, mate, that's what we want to hear.
And I'm just going to announce it now. Kiwi hockey's entering a golden era. Wildcard. So first and foremost, you can jump on the Bobby Whittaker bandwagon. Free pavlova for everyone. Second, Kiwi hockey entering a golden era. You heard it here first. Niche Case Variety Show. What's up?
Razzle dazzle. Doc, would you like to lead things off this week?
I kind of do, kind of don't, because I'm going with Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, and it's something that has just frustrated the heck out of me for basically 12 months. New Zealand Warriors expectations through the roof because the Warriors signed Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. He gets injured. What do the Warriors miss out on? They miss out on averaging 22 carries and 229 metres a game. A game. That's more than any forward does. That's more than Jason Taumalolo, and he won the Dally M Player of the Year.
Yeah, now correct me if I'm wrong, that would make it easier to win rugby league games?
It sure would, but unfortunately for the Warriors, that came in 2015 when he was playing for the Roosters. Scored 12 tries, averaged 0.5 try assists as well during that
Yes.
season. Third behind Mitchell Pearson, James Maloney in try assists for the Roosters 2015. Understandably, you get excited about the Warriors when that's there. When that's not there, well, you need to just temper your expectations a little bit, Wildcard.
Any lingering worries that he might not quite be the same dude when he comes back from post, what was it, his knee, wasn't it?
I'm taking the opposite. I'm taking...
Back as good as new.
Yeah, he's borderline as professional as they come. Pretty eager, I'd imagine, to stamp out any worries about the Warriors, their playing style, their culture, and all of that sort of stuff. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck is a young leader. Let me put it that way.
Shaun Johnson came off a pretty serious injury start of last season as well, so it's not the ideal to be having this every year, but like, hey, like you got to get these dudes.
Hold the phone. I'd suggest that Shaun Johnson is not as good as Roger Tuivasa-Sheck.
Controversy corner.
Just saying.
Just saying. I'm going to dazzle you further now because yep, that's how you're going to be dazzled and then some. Joseph Parker, in about a week or so, fighting this fella called Andy Ruiz. He's going for the WBO heavyweight title bout. With that, he will be the third New Zealand-born heavyweight fighter to fight for a title. Do you know the other two?
Oh, David Tua.
See, that's the trick question. David Tua was born in Samoa. Hey, got you there. The other two, well, here we go. Tom Heaney, going way back. Born in Gisborne, fought a fella called Gene Tunney at Yankee Stadium in 1928. Entered the ring and full-on like Māori cloak. It was... I haven't found photos of it, but it sounds like a beautiful scene. Unfortunately, he was thoroughly destroyed. He wasn't exactly expected to be a real contender. He's just one of those guys who was like, he was to Gene Tunney, the heavyweight champion, what those other dudes were to Joseph Parker when he was making his way up. You know what I mean? But he still fought for a heavyweight title.
He did indeed.
So that means something special. But he wasn't actually the first one. Most people remember Tom Heaney. Not a lot of people remember Herbert Augustus Slade, or as he was known back in the day in the late 1800s when he was fighting, Māori Slade. That's what they called him in America. Born in Kaio, and a great Northland town, Kaio. He took on a fella called John Sullivan in 1883. He was not only the first New Zealand-born heavyweight challenger ever, but he was actually the first non-white heavyweight challenger ever.
Ooh.
So, mate, Kiwis breaking down racial barriers and everything. I love it.
We used to lead the way.
Leading the way. You're next, Joseph.
Righto, Wildcard. We are kicking back in the lounge. If I
Kick
may,
your shoes off.
let me just do a reading from my hip-hop Bible.
And away we go.
Coming from Tupac, Changes, bit of a classic. Can a brother get a little peace? It's war on the streets and a war in the Middle East. Instead of a war on poverty, they got a war on drugs, so the police can bother me. Succinct, to the point, nothing more.
Let me ask you, Doc. The song's called Changes. What, 25 years later, what's changed?
Jack shit.
What has changed? Reading, listening, or watching, where do we begin?
Watching, because I've been watching some day-night test cricket and I bloody love it, Wildcard. I bloody love it because it's just a bit different. It's just a bit different. I don't want every test to be a day-night test. I don't want one test in every series to be a day-night test. I just want, if there's one Australian test this summer that's a day-night test, perfect. Because it's got a different buzz. It provides different challenges, Bowling under the lights. Do you declare a bit early to send the other guys in? There's different angles, approaches, and little bits of funk via the day-night test, and I love it.
And I tell you what, when you've got a day-night test in Adelaide, beautiful hours on a Saturday night when you're in New Zealand, beautiful hours. Myself, I've been watching some Des Bryant post-game interview clips on YouTube. Des Bryant's hardcore wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. They've been doing all right recently. Des Bryant got himself in a bit of a scrap with a fella, Josh Norman, who's the cornerback who was covering him when the Cowboys played the Washington professional football team, as we'll call them. Norman and Des, there were a couple little things guarding each other, always, bumping bodies a little bit. There's a few bits of niggle that are going through. Norman at one point grabbed Des's leg after he had already been tackled and gave it a bit of a twist. Des didn't like that, jawing back and forth. Norman got a little bit upset after the game and they started yelling at each other. Norman got to the cameras first. He said, well, what happened was, it was all fun and games until Des Bryant apparently said to him, quote, where I'm from, we empty the clip. And Norman didn't take too kindly to that. Des Bryant had a good old laugh about that, wearing a straw hat in the changing rooms afterwards. He said, beginning his little media juncture, he began saying, first off, Washington need to get their money back on Josh Norman. So, well, they're not gonna. He signed something like a $60 million contract or something along those lines. He also used there was the phrase in there, I honestly feel the guy is extremely soft. And he's just been going crazy on Twitter as well, replying to everyone who tells him that he got beat. He's like, boy, just watch the tape. I did watch the tape. I watched the whole game. I thought Des had a bloody good game. And I love a bit of the old back and forth. That's how you do it as well. That's how you do it.
A few dirty All Blacks tactics coming into it.
Yeah, but without the high tackles.
Yeah. What have you been listening to?
This is a good one. I've been listening to the Neats and Alley Show podcast. You can find it on iTunes alongside our own podcast, the Nichecast. That's also a good listen. But I wasn't listening to that one this week. I was listening to the Neats and Alley Show featuring Anita Asante, who's an English women's football international, and Aaaalrighty, New Zealand football fern legend. Footy fern icon. The two of them are teammates at Malmo in Sweden, where they also play with a woman named Marta, you may have heard of.
Brazilian,
5-time player of the year, according to FIFA. She's pretty much the Pele of women's football. Aaaalrighty is a teammate of hers, and so is Anita Asante. And they have a podcast. They've just started it, talking about women's football, talking about... in the first episode, they were sort of discussing their lifestyle as footballers, the whole equality thing between women's game getting paid and not getting paid, their journey to making it to this stage. Good listen. Sounds like they're going to do it fairly regularly.
Co-hosting,
the two of them. Just a little half-hour conversation. Good stuff.
Beauty.
Yeah.
I've been listening to Sticky Fingers, new album from Sticky Fingers. Westway, The Glitter and the Slums. Very interesting. Bit of rock and roll, bit of funk. Not quite as funky as the previous stuff from Sticky Fingers I had heard, but it's very interesting. Out of Melbourne, the lead singer, Dylan, I think his name is, comes from Auckland. So he's a bit of a chur in there. And yeah, just kind of soft, rockish, funky doodah. Chuck it on the background, just groove on out. I've been liking it a lot, especially on the back of Lance Skywalker.
Yeah.
Like, my musical journey is just taking me through a few twists and turns at the moment. And I'm loving it. Like, that's just what you got to do, is embrace and dive into it.
Absolutely. I'm guessing Sticky Fingers got their name from the Rolling Stones album?
Maybe.
Probably. Stones got a new one coming out in about a month. Going back to basics, mate. They're doing a blues album. Been waiting for this for years. So, where are we? Reading.
I've been reading a bit of cricketing wisdom from my interview with Rob Nichol, Auckland Aces cricketer. Just very insightful answers from Rob Nichol about how the domestic cricket scene, how he goes about his training, different training methods, identifying weaknesses, how to improve on those weaknesses, hearing that the fastest spells he faced were against Ian O'Brien, Lance Hamilton. Do you remember him?
Couple names there.
Yep.
Ian O'Brien could throw them down.
Yep. Facing Shane Bond, Hamish Bennett in the nets, jokers like that. Very insightful. So obviously check it out. Rob Nichol versus Aaaalrighty.
That's the one.
Yourself?
Myself, I've been reading... similar to Marazzle this week. I've been reading all up on New Zealand boxing history, trying to find out about some of these characters from back in the day. Honestly, there are some just incredible stories. Like, you find some of these people and then the lives they lived, even outside of boxing. Like I mentioned before, Tom Heaney, the dude who fought at Yankee Stadium in 28. He finished fighting. He retired in Miami. He ran a nightclub where he used to drink scotch with Ernest Hemingway. just on his at work while he was working.
As you do.
As you do. I would love that. And also, I wanted to talk about a fella called Torpedo Billy Murphy was his name. Torpedo Billy Murphy. He was actually the first New Zealander to win I think he was a featherweight, but he's the first New Zealander to win a world title. He won it against an American-based Irishman called Ike Ware in about 1890, 1891, something around there. It was actually a funny, it's an incredible story how he beat the dude. He was getting beaten through, I think it was a 10-round fight, getting pretty thoroughly beaten through about 8. Decides in the 9th round, I've got to win this. There's only one way I'm going to win this. I'm going to knock this sucker down. So he did. He knocked him down about 7 or 8 times in the 9th round. But I think it was a standing count was how they decided it. So there was no like three times down, you're done. So the dude just kept getting back up. Mr. Ware, the Irishman, just kept on getting back up. And to start the 10th round, to show off just how much gas he had left in the tank after getting knocked down all those times, he started off the round by doing a backflip in the ring.
What?
So what Torpedo Billy Murphy does is he stands there, sees this dude doing his backflip. As he flips, as he comes back and lands on his feet, gives him the old torpedo punch, which is where he gets his name, Torpedo Billy. Torpedo punch right in the jaw and knocks him clean out. That's how he won.
As he lands.
As he lands.
Bloody oath.
Incredible.
Mate. Bloody oath. You're wearing a Northland shirt.
Yeah.
I would argue that Rupeni Daudau Booker is the second best rugby player ever.
After Jonah?
After Carlos Spencer.
Ooh.
All due respect to Jonah Lomu, but Carlos Spencer was doing kicks off his knees. He was running into the corners. Just sheer impact on the game. Well, Jonah Lomu exists in his own.
I guess that's the thing.
Yeah.
If Carlos is 1, Rupeni's 2, Jonah's number 0.
Jonah's 0. But Rupeni Daudau Booker was just phenomenal.
Mate, I'm not going to argue a second with that.
I'll probably suggest David Howell's number 3.
David Howell. I mean, we're getting back into the good era here, aren't we?
Where's Paul Tito at?
Isn't he coaching?
Yeah.
I think he might be coaching these days.
The old special ginger.
Yeah.